Hi, everybody. So I did my project on Asperger syndrome. And first would be the defining of Asperger's. So I use the IDEA definition because now Asperger's syndrome is considered under autism. So I put the autism definition in. So autism means a developmental disability significantly affecting verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction, generally evident before age 3, that adversely affects a child's educational performance. Other characteristics often associated with autism are engagement in repetitive activities and stereotyped movements, resistance to environmental change or change in daily routines, and unusual responses to sensory experiences. So the diagnostic criteria, there are many of them, but when I was putting them in, the first two you have to have one of the following or two of the following. So I'm going to tell you what those are. Qualitative impairment in social interaction as manifested by at least two of the following. Marked impairments in the use of multiple nonverbal behaviors such as eye-to-eye gaze, facial expression, by body postures, and gestures to regulate social interaction. And number 2 would be failure to develop peer relationships appropriate to developmental level. The next one would be restricted, repetitive, and stereotyped patterns of behavior, interests, and activities as manifested by at least one of the following. So there are 4 of them, so I will tell you what all 4 of them are. Encompassing preoccupation with one or more stereotyped and restricted patterns of interest that is abnormal either in intensity or focus. Apparently inflexible adherence to specific non-functional routines or rituals. Stereotyped and repetitive motor mannerisms, and persistent preoccupation with parts of objects. And the last 4 are the disturbance causes clinically significant impairment in social, occupation, and other important areas of functioning. There are no clinically significant general delay in language. There's no clinically significant delay in cognitive development or in development of age-appropriate self-help skills. And lastly, would be criteria are not met for another specific pervasive developmental disorder or schizophrenia. So to break down Asperger's, what is Asperger's? So it is a developmental disorder. It causes impaired language and communication skills, as well as repetitive or restrictive thinking and behavior. Some symptoms of Asperger's are being captivated on one particular item or object. The individual does not make proper eye contact or is missing certain social cues and does not do well when it comes to change. Another symptom may be not being able to comprehend philosophical thinking or missing cues while in conversation with people. So what causes Asperger's? There are many things that could cause Asperger's. So the first one is a mother could be taking a certain medicine or prescription during the pregnancy. Another one could be the child being born to parents who have maybe been older. And the last one could be a chromosomal difference. So how is it diagnosed? According to familydoctor.org, doctors compare a child's behavior and development to a milestone checklist against same age peers. So they would take a child that is 2 years old and compare it to another child that is 2 years old, and that was how they will make their make their determination. And a child could be as young as 15 months. There is not testing to diagnose, such as blood work or medical imaging. And can anybody do anything to not have a child who has Asperger's syndrome? The short answer is no. Since the cause of Asperger's is undetermined, there is no way to prevent it or avoid it. So developmental characteristics. So for cognitive, they may have trouble understanding factual information versus opinion. And they also may have trouble seeing the bigger picture if information is not all put together. For example, if someone missed part of the story, someone with Asperger's may just focus on that rather than the entire story itself. When it comes to physical, they have poor handwriting, poor coordination, and poor fine motor skills. They also can have issues with overstimulation, such as textures, very loud noises, and LED bright lights. When it is socially, they may suffer from depression and anxiety because they do show self-isolation from his or her peers. So the person in the video, the little boy that you guys are going to watch, he talks about that, but then he also talks about how he's overcome that and been able to achieve many things. For emotional, people with Asperger's have a tendency to not be able to control their emotions. So they are taught ways on how to control their emotions, be able to figure out where they are coming from. 6 strategies. The first section is academic. You can present the information to the student in a smaller way. So you can do it piece by piece and then put it all together once they master each piece. And when teaching a lesson, the teacher should be speaking clearly. The teacher shouldn't really be walking around correcting other students. If they are teaching a lesson, they should be focused on the task at hand. For behavioral, teach all students the best way to cope with their feelings. For example, after lunch, taking 5 minutes to talk about the positives and negatives. The teacher that I observed recently, she would have all of her first grade group come and sit down after lunch and talk about the negatives first and how to fix them and how they feel about them and how to make it better for next time so they don't happen again. And then they would talk about the positives. And when it is social and emotional, having groups meet in the back of the room every day can help someone because they're able to get to know the people in the class. For example, they can just meet in like a small group and they can have conversation about what they like to do, but just maybe do it in smaller groups because people with Asperger's tend to be overwhelmed with large crowds. And lastly, classroom design. There has to be clear sections in the classroom that are designated just for learning. So you can't have the students think that the purple table is for things that they want to do on Fun Friday, but also math. You have to make sure that they know that just this table, the purple table, for example, is just meant for learning, not for anything else. And provide an area in the classroom that the student may go if he or she is feeling overwhelmed. And so for my assistive technology, the one on the left is a visual board. And a visual board is considered a low-tech device. And I thought this was really cool because each board is personalized to each student's needs. And people with Asperger's have a tendency to be hyperfixated on routines. So they can know what's coming next. They know what time they're leaving school. And it just makes them calm themselves and be able to do their day with ease, knowing what is coming. So that is why a visual board is very, very, very important. And the one on the right is the AbleNet Quick Talker 7. And that is important and really cool. So first you put the batteries in the back, and then the pictures that you see are interchangeable. They're like cards and they'll slide in. And what you do is you will show the user first. If they push down, for example, on the no, the thumbs down, they will take that and then hit the white button, and they'll hit the white button and then push down on the picture and say no, and it will record their voice saying it. So then and you can change the cards and do it for many different ones, and it will save it to the device. And then every single time you put the card in, you select which one you have by like the little gray arrows. And then they will click down and they can hear their voice saying no. So this is the video that I have, and it is about 4 minutes long, and it shows a little boy named Evan, and he tells you about his everyday life, what everyday life is like for him to have Asperger's.
Question: what do Dan Aykroyd, Beethoven, and Thomas Jefferson all have in common? Well, at least all have or are believed to have had Asperger's syndrome. That's a developmental disorder often linked to autism. 1 in 500 people have it, and most are not only living with it, they're learning to conquer it. Seventh grader Sam Anderson always seems to be smiling, and he's eager to learn. His hand repeatedly shoots up in class.
Using hydrogen into helium.
Fusion of hydrogen into helium.
Or nuclear fusion.
Nuclear fusion.
He may not always give Mr. Schroeder the right answer, but he never stops trying, especially when it comes to anything science.
Besides hanging out with my friends, science is my favorite subject. Since I can remember, I've always liked building things and just science and chemistry, and I just really, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I was just born to be scientific.
Born to be scientific, but also born with a form of autism called Asperger syndrome.
It just means that you can think faster, and you also can learn things fast. Your brain just runs a whole lot faster. That's good, but you also have emotional problems such as depression, anxiety.
And social interaction is sometimes awkward. Sam is well aware of this, and so are some of his classmates.
They know I'm different. They just don't know what makes me different.
Sam's mom, Sherry.
That's really hard to see your child be rejected or just struggle when you're driving in the car and he says, I just wish I was normal. And he is, and he has so many great things going for him, but the other kids just don't get it.
It's okay. Don't cry on television.
The key for Sam was to find his passion and nurture it. He found it here at Legacy Traditional School in Maricopa.
Sam mentioned his teachers, and honestly, it's made all the difference in the world.
One of the hallmarks of Asperger's is intense focus, which, when channeled properly, can be a great asset. That's where a recent science competition came in. Sam and his classmates constructed a 3D printer.
Data is going from here to the machine and then back to the computer.
Sam's team took first place, the youngest team competing against two high schools. And Sam was a key player.
It's ready.
He brought ingenuity. He brought great ideas.
Judy Nunneman, a computer teacher at Legacy, oversaw the team of 8. She watched Sam become completely immersed in the project.
When this 3D project came up, it was just a perfect fit for him because it just went along with something that was already very important to him, technology and being innovative.
She's been teaching Sam since he was a little boy and expects great things.
He does inspire me. I've seen him overcome challenges that were not easy for him. He is intrinsically motivated, and he will do whatever he can to accomplish his goal.
Sam has not only accepted his challenges, he's turned them into an asset.
I used to hate it. I used to just hate Asperger's entirely, but now I almost kind of like being special. It's a gift. You just got to learn how to take the flaws in it. It's a part of you, and always will be, but it doesn't define you. Now it's done.
Sam told me his dream is to one day run his own science and technology company. SAIL stands for Sam Anderson Invention Laboratories. And if I had to bet, that's exactly what Sam will do and accomplish. Remarkable young man.
So that is my video, and you're able to see everything that Sam was able to accomplish, which is amazing.
Question.
Now, lastly, to wrap everything up, to relate this to my first person narrative, I read the book Nobody Nowhere by Donna Williams. It was published in 1992, and Donna touches upon how she does not fit into the norm of society because she is different. And in the story that she wrote, she talked about how her mother and brother scrutinized her terribly, and they really did let her know that she was not part of normal society, and until she found a teacher that believed in her and she was able to succeed. And lastly, I found this quote in the author's note that I thought was really touching. This is a story of two battles, a battle to join to keep out the world and a battle to join it. People with Asperger's do struggle with being able to be in the world normally because they do socially isolate themselves. And that is a battle that they're fighting with themselves, but then they also have to battle with the world to be able to feel comfortable. So yeah. So then lastly is my citations, and I hope that you guys all enjoyed this presentation.